Hello students, today I am going to explain you Unit 1 first chapter, A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. G.L. Fuentes was a Mexican writer. In this story, the writer describes about a farmer named Lencho who has an innocent and infinite faith in God. How? To know that, I'll explain you the chapter. In this chapter, mainly there are three characters: a farmer named Lencho, a postman, and a postmaster. The story begins with the description of Lencho's house where he is living with his family on the crest of a low hill, the only house in the entire valley. That means the house where the Lencho and his family are living is away from the town. It is the only house in the entire valley, in the middle of the valley. Then the writer talks about Lencho, that is, the Lencho's house was in such a situation, that means from where he could see his fields and what he had grown in his fields. That means he could see his fields from his house and the corn which he had grown in his field. He was very sure that he was going to get a very good yield from his field, but the only thing he expected was a good rain. So one morning he was standing out in his field looking at the sky in the northeast direction and doing nothing but just waiting for the rain. On the same day evening, his wife was preparing the evening meal, and Lencho, his wife, and their children were about to eat their meal. At the same time, huge raindrops starts falling as it was predicted by Lencho. Lencho, he was very happy and excited, and to feel this rain, he went out of his house in the open field and he tries to feel the raindrops on his body. And with this excitement, he tells his family that these raindrops aren't the raindrops falling from the sky, these are the new coins. The big ones are the 10-cent pieces and the small ones are 5s. So in the chapter, if you read it out, Lencho says this because from this rain he was going to get a very good harvest, and from the harvest he was going to earn very handsome amount of money. So he considers these raindrops as coins, that is big of 10-cent pieces and small ones as 5-cent pieces. So he was very much satisfied as his field was totally covered with water. But suddenly the situation changed, and along with the rain, large hailstones began to fall. Now, Lencho was worried and he expected the rain to pass quickly. But it didn't, and it continued to rain for an hour. Everything was covered with hailstones and it looked as if it was covered with salt. Everything in the field and around was totally destroyed. Even the corn was totally destroyed. So the Lencho was very sad, and he told his sons that a plague of locust would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. That means he was very much sad, and he tells his son that a plague of locusts, that is, plague means a large number of harmful things. Locust means insects which usually takes place on the plants in the farm or the fields, and they destroy the plants. That means a plague of locust is a large quantity of insects which damages or destroys the field. So he says that if the plague of locust would have taken place in the field, they would have left more than this. That means, due to the hailstones, the corn is totally destroyed. Nothing is left for them. And so they were very sad, and the situation was worst for them because throughout the year, whatever efforts, throughout the year, whatever hard work they have done, everything is now a waste. So the Lencho and his family, who lived in the middle of the valley, away from the town, had no one to help them out. The only hope what they had was the help from the God. Lencho, he was an ox of man. That means an ox of man means he was a very hard working fellow who used to work in his fields day and night. But then too he knew how to write. So on the following Sunday, when he was free from his work, he starts writing a letter to God. In the letter, he states, God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my fields again and to live until the crop comes because the hailstones. Dot dot dot. That means whatever the situation the Lencho was passing through, whatever the problem he was facing, he writes down in the letter to the God and he asks for 100 pesos. He asked this money because again he wanted to sow his fields for which he did not have any kind of money. So he asked that money, and from that money he was going to sow his fields again, and till the time the new harvest is there and he earns money from that, he wanted to feed his family. So with that money he was also going to feed his family. So he writes this letter, puts it in an envelope and just writes to God on the letter and puts it in the mailbox. Then one of the postmen who was working in the post office receives the letter and he starts laughing very loudly as he had never seen such a kind of letter. He takes this letter to his boss, that is the postmaster, and shows him the letter to the God. In his career as a postman, the postman had never seen such a kind of letter which was addressed to God. Even the postmaster who sees the letter to God starts laughing loudly, and immediately he stops laughing and he becomes very serious because he finds that the person who has written the letter has a deep and infinite faith in the God. So he doesn't want to break the writer's faith. Here the writer means the Lencho who had written the letter. So the postmaster, he didn't want to break the writer's faith in God. So he decides to help him out. He gets an idea and he decides to help him out by writing a letter. But when he opens the letter and he reads the letter, the postmaster realizes that just by writing the letter to the farmer, that is the Lencho, will not help him out. So he realizes that he needs to gather 100 pesos in order to help the farmer. So as he had determined, as he had made a resolution, he tries to help out the farmer by collecting 100 pesos. He gives a part of his salary and he also collects money from his employees in the post office. Even he tries to get the help from his friends in the form of a charity to help the farmer. But it was impossible for him to gather all the 100 pesos, and he was able to gather only more than half, that was 70 pesos. So he collects the money, puts it in an envelope, and along with that he writes a letter in which there was only a single word, that was in the form of a signature of God. So that in letter there was only a single word, that was God, nothing else in there. He puts it in an envelope, and next following Sunday, that is the next Sunday or the following Sunday, Lencho comes a bit earlier and he inquires about a letter for him. Then the postman who had received the letter, he himself hands over the letter to Lencho. And at the same time, the postmaster who had tried to help the Lencho, he was feeling very much satisfied as he had done a very good deed. Deed means a good action. Okay, and so then when the Lencho opens the letter, he finds out the money from that, but he did not have the slightest doubt, or he did not have a bit of surprise on his face, because he was very much confident and he was very much uh, determined that the God is for sure going to help him. At present, if we are in some same situation, then if we have written the letter to God, then we don't expect anything from the God, or we don't expect anything in return, like we'll receive a letter from the God or anything. But the Lencho had an infinite faith in God. He was so much confident that the God will for sure give him whatever he has expected from the God, and he did not have a slightest doubt. Then, when he opens the letter and when he starts counting the money, he finds a shortfall in the money. That means he finds that the money in the envelope is less than what he had expected. He finds only 70 pesos in there, and he becomes very much angry because he didn't expect that the God might have made a mistake. He expected that God would give him whatever he has expected, that is the 100 pesos. God can never make a mistake. So he gets angry. He goes to the window of the post office. He asks for a ink and paper. He again starts writing the letter to the God, in which he states that God, next time when you send the money, please don't send the money through the mail. He says that I want the money immediately, I need the money immediately, and you send me the rest of the money what I had asked for, that is the 30 paise. But this time don't send it through the mail, you send it directly to me at my house, because the bunch of the employees at the post office are a bunch of crooks. That means bunch of crook means a dishonest person. The Lencho writes in the letter that the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. That means he doubts the post office employees. He doubts that the post office employees might have taken the money. So this is the end of the story. Here I can say that the story is very ironical. Ironical in the sense means what? So we can see here that is ironical because the situation at the end is quite different than what is anticipated. So ironical means whatever we have expected at the end, but the end is quite different. Anticipated means it is totally different than what we have expected. Why? Because here the employees who had helped Lencho, right? Same employees are called a bunch of crooks and were suspected of taking some of the money sent by God, right? But Lencho did not know that those same group of people whom he is doubting had actually helped him by providing the money. So at the end we can say that the story is an ironical, because we might have expected that the post office employees are helping the farmer in getting the money, so he might help them, so the farmer might thank them in the end and everything, but nothing as such. He just doubts the people who had helped him, Therefore, it is ironical. And at last, I would like to conclude the story by the moral of the story. So, the moral of the story is the letter to God is that the extreme faith in the Almighty, the God, can give us a ray of hope even in the darkest times. From this story, we can find out that the Lencho, who had an infinite faith in the Almighty, that is the God, comes out of his problem or situation just because he had a deep faith in God. So we can just say that if we have a faith in God, then we can surely come out of our darkest time or the bad situation. Therefore, we should always keep a faith or a hope in whatever situation or whatever work we are doing. Thank you so much. I end my explanation over here, and thank you for watching my video.